Israeli Defense Forces shot a 21-year-old medic, and this story is getting quite a bit of attention because of the fact that she was a medic who was clearly wearing a vest that medics wear, and she was assisting protesters who had been wounded because of their protests near the Gazan border. Her name is Razan al-Najjar. And this story is difficult to even report. We're about to show you a video of who she was and what she believed in just a moment. But to give you some more context into this story, al-Najjar's death comes after weeks of protests, Palestinian protests to be specific, known as the Great March of Return, during which more than 111 to be specific, Palestinian protesters have been killed by Israeli fire. Now, she was shot by a sniper, and she is the second medic to die as a result of these protests and Israeli forces targeting the protesters. People were suffering from the tear gas. A man was right near the fence and was calling out, "Come help me, come help me." He was close to the fence. Razan went to help him. That's according to a nurse and a friend of Razan's. Now, her mother spoke to the media about this, and the quotes are just heartbreaking. She said the following: "I was afraid for her, but Razan told us that she wasn't afraid. She felt obliged to help and was clearly wearing a medical vest." And she was also quoted as saying, "I'm protected by my vest. God is with me. I'm not afraid."
It turned out neither one of those were true.
So with that said, the next video, for me personally, it was difficult to watch, but I want to share, who Razan was with our audience.
And when we come back from the video, I'm going to tell you how this is not an accident, and the Israeli Defense Forces are doing it on purpose, and I have overwhelming proof of that.
هذا حب انتمائنا للوطن، يعني هذا عمل إنساني ما بدنا عليه مقابل، إحنا بدنا نقدر تعبنا الله بس، مش مستعد يعني ما بدنا مقابل من أي حدا، لا رواتب ولا توظيف بدناش. كتير سألوا بابا بنتك هاي طب ما بتاخد راتب هيك، حكى لهم أنا بنتي بفتخر فيها إنها بتقدم إشي إنساني لأبناء وطني، يعني كمان بنت، وخصوصي إحنا المرأة عنا منتقدة كتير في المجتمع، بس المجتمع لازم يتقبلنا غصبا عنه، لو بدوش يتقبلنا بإرادته بيتقبلنا غصبا عنه، لأن إحنا عنا قوة أكتر من أي راجل. القوة اللي إحنا بنمتلكها، القوة اللي استرجلت فيها كأول مسعفة في الأسبوع الأول، بتحدى ألاقيها عند أي شخص يعني.
So I hear from those in the right wing that they're looking to liberate women in the Muslim world. Well, she seemed liberated, and she wanted more liberation for her people. She wanted to be strong and do it in the right way, peaceful protests, and help the people who are suffering, and that's why she's a medic. And so what's the proof? Over 200 medical professionals have been injured by Israeli attacks, mainly sniper fire. You think the Israeli Defense Forces are that bad? They accidentally shot 200 medics? No, they see their vests, and their vests are very clear. The second medic who died, on the same day, there's a really powerful interview from Democracy Now! About it. In fact, we'll try to find it for you and put it in the description box below if you're watching anywhere, YouTube or Facebook later, okay? If you're watching live, go look it up. Amy Goodman interviews a doctor who also got shot on that same day, and he's heartbroken because he thinks he might have been able to save that medic if he hadn't been shot earlier. And in that case, they're hundreds of yards away from the border. And he thought, well, I'm a doctor and I'm safe and I'm from the West, right? Mm-hmm. And we've got all these people that are clearly medical. They go into the field holding up their medical ID with their medical vest and their hands up in the air. So the Israeli Defense Forces, the snipers can clearly see who they are. And by the way, it's snipers shooting them. If they were a real danger, would they have to have snipers? No, they have the snipers that shoot these medical professionals oftentimes from hundreds of yards away. That's several football fields. Those soldiers are not in danger from these medical professionals. They're shooting them and sometimes executing them. And part of the reason is, now those are facts. My guess as to why is to intimidate them. Don't go anywhere near here. Don't even think about protesting our iron-fisted rule and occupation of you. Understand that you live in a prison, and you will never represent yourself. And if you try to just help your fellow man who's been injured in the protest, we'll still kill you.
So also keep in mind that oftentimes when you hear about casualties on the Palestinian side, the argument that you hear from the Israeli government is that they pose a risk. They have weapons. They have armed kites that they fly in, across the border that could injure people.
They had one kite on fire. A kite.
I know.
A kite.
I know. But
okay, what a joke.
So in this case, though, you were talking about a medic who has no weapon. She is literally there to provide some medical help or a response to those who have been injured as a result of the aggression on the Israeli side, right? So she sees people that are injured, she wants to help them out. She's essentially a first responder in many cases. And you're right, Cenk, they do approach with their medic ID in hand to make it clear, I am a medic, I'm not here to cause any problems, I'm here to help my people. And also, medical supplies and medical help in Gaza, it's just not easy to come by, right? And so she's not doing this for money, as she mentioned in that video. She's putting her life at risk. And the thing that really stood out to me in that video where she's talking to the media was, just she's young, and I'm sure she's seen brutality and how cruel humans can be. But she still believed that, hey, if I'm a medic and I don't pose a risk, no one's gonna target me. I'm safe, my vest will protect me.
You know what the irony of that is? Is that they actually assumed more faith in Israel than was warranted. They thought the Israelis won't shoot the doctors. Well, you were wrong, they did. And they keep on shooting them. The interview I'm referring to from Amy Goodman is from earlier. Now this is happening again this weekend. In fact, Rami Abu Jazar, another medical professional, and he showed up to defend her in crutches. Why? He was also shot. They're mass shooting of medical professionals by the Israeli Defense Forces. And then Fox News comes on here and in America and goes, Hegseth said, are the children, because children are also killed. He said, the children, are they really innocent? Like that. Because they don't care. I mean, look at the preposterous things that they make up to make it seem like it's a real threat. Kite is not a code term. It's not a drone. It's not a newly designed thing. It's an actual kite like kids fly. They've got almost no weapons on the other side. Every once in a while, the right wing, both here and in Israel, will say, some of them have rocks that they put into a sling like David against Goliath. Oops, I didn't mean that part. And then they try to reach it to a fence that's 700 yards away, 7 football fields away. So we had to have our snipers execute them. And by the way, the guys with the stones are a tiny minority. Most of them are 40,000 protesters showed up in the earlier protests. Almost all civilians. And the people that were killed and wounded, almost all civilians. Yes, there were some few people that threw rocks and burned tires. How feckless, how ridiculous. And we say all the time they shouldn't do that because it doesn't help anything. It takes you away whatever moral high ground you have when you do any act of violence. I know, however tiny it is, right? Don't give them any excuses, but it doesn't matter. They don't need excuses because they're shooting the doctors.
So I actually want to respond to that because I couldn't understand why these protests, some of the protesters would put their lives at risk to cross the border, right? Knowing that you have Israeli snipers ready to shoot you at any moment. And I heard this incredible interview with one Palestinian protester who said, look, I was born in Palestine, I was born in Gaza. I have never left Gaza because I'm not able to leave Gaza. I am locked in Gaza. And so the idea of crossing the border, even for a second, is a small victory. Even if I lose my life, it's a small victory. Think about what your life must be like if you're willing to die just to cross a border into a different part of the country.
If you live in Israel or you're a supporter of Israel anywhere, you really think it helps Israel to shoot doctors and nurses in cold blood, to have your snipers shoot them? My God, if my country did that, I would be mortified and I would fight with every fiber of my being against that. In fact, my country, America, does support that and I fight against it. any decent person would say, for God's sake, not only because you care about the morality of the situation and the humanity of Palestinians who are fellow human beings, but because you care about Israel. For the rest of the world to see you as these people who shoot doctors and nurses at a mass scale, how does that help Israel? It's a terrible blight on Israel's record. Do what it was originally intended to do. If you think the original idea of the people who came there, and people get into endless fights about their original intent, but do you really think the original intent as they were escaping the Holocaust was to start an open air prison where they would occupy other people, millions of them, for decades on end? That was not their intent. Their intent was to be free. But the occupation, it has both imprisoned the Palestinians and the Israelis. 2 easy ways to follow the Young Turks. One is hit the subscribe button down below, then you're a TYT subscriber. And second is ring the bell. And when you do that on YouTube, you're notified of our videos.